Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles, says the Caribbean is suffering from a shortage of critical skills. Professor Beckles, who was a guest at the latest RGI News Forum, said there is a need for a major strategic plan to tackle the education issues in the region. TVJ's Vashan Brown has more.
The debate about the cost of tertiary education has been raging for years. Pro-Vice-Chancellor at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Professor Hilary Beckles, points out that the challenge for the Caribbean is to get more people in the higher education system at an affordable cost. He says it's time to revolutionize access to tertiary education in the region, and here's why.
The Caribbean has the lowest enrollment in higher education in the age cohort 18 to 30. We have the lowest enrollment in higher education in the whole hemisphere. From Alaska to Argentina, we're at the bottom of the pile. And this is something that we cannot take lightly, because all of the economics that we have studied have shown quite clearly that the potential of a country to transform itself into industrial development with equitable growth has to do with the number of its citizens who are involved in professional training, skills development, and higher education.
He says in countries like Canada and the United States, about 50% of the youth cohort have been enrolled in higher education, meaning they have some level of professional training.
When Minister Reid made an observation recently that maybe about 17% or so of the Jamaican working force has a higher education. Across the Caribbean, it is even less. I mean, Bahamas and Barbados are somewhere in the area of 25, 30. Then we have, at the bottom of that, we have the Leeward and Windward Islands at less than 10%.
All this information, he says, is important because it has an impact on the economy. He argues that economies need more people with certain skill sets to push it forward.
So what we are suffering from in the Caribbean, and this is how I feel, I think this is a thesis I'm willing to defend. Where we are in the Caribbean with this sagging economic structure is a shortage of critical skills. I do not believe that we are suffering from a shortage of capital. I do not believe that there's a shortage of capital in the Caribbean or for the Caribbean.
That's financial capital.
Financial capital.
He maintains that all the evidence would suggest that a country would need to have at least 30 to 50% of people with professional training. Professor Beckles notes that this particular issue needs to be confronted with a major strategic plan. Vashan Brown, TVJ News.